Hello, hello! Welcome to the Musings&Review channel. I'm your host, Maverick, and today I'm going to be starting a new series, Fairy Gone. So, for any of you newcomers here, I typically divide my videos into three different parts. In the beginning would be my, I guess, recap or an introductory if it's the first episode. In the middle part, it would be my blind reaction to the episode itself. And finally, I will follow it up with a discussion and review session, my musings, if you will, hence the channel name. So, what is Fairy Gone? It's an entirely original anime, so there's no prior work that it is based on, and the best I could get from its synopsis, it's basically talking about soldiers who are then modified or enhanced in a way by imbuing fairies within them, and so then they can become soldiers of more power than your normal run-of-the-mill soldiers, right? So there is this fantasy aspect to it. But what really caught my eye from the very beginning was the fact that its setting is more in modern times. So it's set somewhere, I believe, between World War I, World War II of our time, at least based on the weaponry. So they also have, bolt action rifles, semi-automatic rifles, artillery pieces, whatnot, but they also combine it with fantasy elements of using swords, of having monsters, etc., etc. So already from the get-go, I was intrigued by the concept and the mishmash of these kinds of characteristics. Now, as I dug deeper, I found that the supporting staff for this is actually pretty damn solid as well. The animation studio is PA Works, who are most well known for Angel Beats, I guess. So solid there. The voice actors, at least the main voice actors, they're all veterans to them. They've done lots of works. So no real doubt there as well. The director, Suzuki-san, he's done stuff such as JoJo, such as Cells at Work, such as Drifters, so also a solid director. So at least animation-wise, I'm pretty sure that is no problem. So then the only question that remains is the story going to be any good? Well, as it turns out, the script is going to be written by a novelist named Jumanji Ao. So, I guess if you don't really read light novels, probably one of his works was animated, Grimgar, I believe, Haito Gensu no Grimgar. So there's that one. To be honest, I don't really read his works as well. However, he is affiliated with Sound Horizon, the musical group, and he's done novelizations of their music for them, both Elysium and Roman. So, well, Sound Horizon is one of my favorite music groups, so already to me this is a plus on my side. And I was looking through his resume, right? So Jumanji has done lots of different novels. He's also a very well-established veteran within the business. So and looking at his works, I believe he focuses a lot on the world-building details, right? He always has some unique premise to his works. So honestly, I feel like he is also solid for this kind of job as well. So overall, I think it has a solid concept, a solid cast. Well, let's just see if it's going to be any good. So without further ado, let's just jump right in to the episode. So let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Alright. Lessons by Funimation. Alright, instantly we're treated to a world map. Fairy soldiers. So yeah, that's what I was talking about. The soldiers who are imbued with fairies, I believe. Fairy village, Suna. And you can see their weaponry. A lay don. Oh, and still using archery as well? All right. Maria. These name translations. Oh. That's gunfire, I believe. And swords as well. Unification, eh? So is it trying to unify the different kingdoms we saw at the beginning? Or probably nations? Kingdoms? Not really sure what political system they're using right now. Or is it more of a civil war? Locomotives. So yeah, around the time of First World War. Maybe. Okay, as with all first episodes, I will be looking at the opening first, but I will be muting it just so I don't get copyright struck. Fairy Gone. Holy 3D. No, and there's the first fairy we see. I believe this No Name is also a musical group, and they did the music for Grimgar. Hmm. Kind of a weird mix of animation again, but okay. UE505. Auction house. Hmm. I can already tell that because I know that this is an offer that likes to do world building, and with all these different names out immediately, it's probably going to be confusing for a lot of people, and myself as well, until we can get some sort of consolidated map or something. Hmm? Black fairy tone. This is a fairy, right? Is it? Actually, I don't know. Yeah, 9 years ago, so that was that little kid. Little girl. Aww. Oh, so humans can't find fairies? Alright. Hmm. So they create fairies from them? Well, this dude is a fairy user. What? Oh. Ooh. Still though. Alright, so this is how... So I'm guessing fairy soldiers after the war either work as mercenaries or work as bodyguards. Makes sense. Oh. Oh. Okay, and so what's going to happen now? Hmm. Have you ever fought? Okay. Yeah. So now it's a fairy on fairy battle. This seems kind of funny though. So the fairies just fight each other and then the humans fight each other. Like, what? Okay, this girl is kind of annoying right now. Okay. Dang. Oh. What will happen though if a fairy is unleashed? Wait, so a fairy can be shot? What? Oh, and it fused with her? So now she's a fairy user too? Now that I think of it, she came from a fairy village, right? Yeah. Okay. Hello, fairy. Okay. Again, I find it kind of funny that fairies fight each other and then the humans fight each other as well. Oh? Okay. Not that dual wielding swords makes sense though, but it is fantasy after all. Oh, they're the mafia? So, she's one that swears vengeance. Okay. Okay. Question mark. So what now? What? And now they're all gone. Dorothea. Oh, working for the government now. You're now an illegal fair user? Yep. Join us? Alright. That... Okay. What? Okay. That seemed like a fairly easy recruitment. But I guess she feels like joining this will be the best way to find this Veronica dude. Veronica girl. So let's just watch this ending together, although I will mute it again. Oh, is it seriously just gonna be like this the whole time? Well, if it is, I'm sorry. The music is quite good though. I like the Descending song. Oh, they're all made by No Name. Alright. Like I said, the No Name are more of a musical group, so they have lots of different. If they're anywhere near like Sound Horizon, then they would have lots of different vocalists, lots of different musicians and whatnot. So they don't have a set person singing or a set sound. Hmm. Of course, there's something else. All right. So who is this Veronica working for? Look at her right arm. Still has those marks. Alrighty, so that was episode 1 of Fairy Gone. So, looking back on it, it seems that it is set in a setting where, so all of the different nations had this big war, and now the war is over, and they are all unified under a single flag, so the War of Unification. And in this case, it would make sense for it to be called a War of Unification, since history is written by the victors, and so to the people in charge right now, this is them essentially unifying this entire, I guess, sort of eastern continent of the world map that we can see so far. So this seems to be the area of focus that we are going to be looking at. The time setting does continue. I still believe it's going to be the 20s or the 30s. The main character, Marlon, was using a bolt action rifle, so somewhere around the World War One era. And looking at the clothing and dressing of the people in the mafia and whatnot, it gave a very 20s or 30s vibe to it, right? So I believe that should be around the time period of this. And, you know, so we get introduced to the fairy soldiers, and as well as the idea that fairies or the usage of fairies is now outlawed. So this would make perfect sense as well, you know, when after you unify a place, unify a country, you want to get rid of the armaments of the normal people, right? So obviously, fairies aren't quite such as guns or knives or whatnot, but still, we can see that their power potential is way bigger than any normal person can have once they have a fairy imbued within them, right? So it would make sense to ban these and to just prevent any uprisings or rebellions from happening, right? It kind of reminds me of the Sword Abolishment Act that was passed during the Meiji period, where after the switch governments from the shogunate back to the emperor, and then they banned all the people from carrying knives on them while walking around. Of course, you can also say that's for public safety, but for another part, it's also to make sure that any dissidents don't get their hands on these weapons, right? So it would make sense here for the fairies to be banned as well, as a means of controlling the different remnants of the government as well as the general public. So that makes perfect sense as well. The characters themselves, I don't know. They're not, I'll be honest, they're not very likable right now, especially the main character, Marilyn. I kind of felt she was being quite annoying, if I'm being honest. But then again, it's just the first episode, so maybe we shall see. We shall see. But so far, none of the characters really. Sorry, not Marilyn. Maria, or Maria, something like that. But in any case, none of them were really that compelling. So, I didn't really like how she, it's pretty obvious that this Veronica girl, who you haven't seen for 9 years, is now a little bit different, and she just came here and then killed a bunch of people in order to steal something. Like, that much is obvious, right? And then you're pretty naive to just go up to her and say, oh, I want to talk to you, let's go back and blah blah blah, and then try to appeal to them through emotion. She hasn't seen you in 9 years. Like, I don't know, I'm a little bit allergic to these kinds of naive characters, but we'll see how she matures along in the end. The fighting scenes, again, I think I've commented on it already. I'm a little bit, I think it's a little bit peculiar that when the fairies are fighting, then the actual humans need to fight each other as well. Seems kind of redundant in a sense, but hey, what we can know is that anything that happens to the fairy will also carry over to its host, and I wonder if it's vice versa as well. So at least that's something to keep in mind. The actual fighting scenes, I don't think were that impressive. Like, they were okay, but nothing to especially write note about. The opening had a little bit more of fighting animations, and especially in regards to multiple people attacking at the same time. So since this is just the first episode, I feel like we need to look at it a little bit more further down the line to see if there are more compelling fight scenes. And so how will the future stories start to develop? Currently, I think there's two ways to look at this. They can either go the more civil route or the more militaristic route. So by the civil route, I mean, since the main character, Maria, has joined Free with trying to, well, they're now part of the government agency, right? So they are essentially looking for these outlawed fairy users, and I can venture a guess and say probably these will eventually involve anti-government, rebellion forces or whatnot. So they could be working on the side of the government and then trying to keep the peace, and so trying to get rid of all these different kinds of dissonance, right? Or they could go the militaristic route, and they themselves are going to be the rebels. So eventually they're going to try to topple the current government and, make everybody free and have their own autonomy again. Something like that. That's also a possibility as well. So probably it won't veer too far off from these two paths. So let's just see what's going to happen then. So overall, I feel like the animation was okay, the music was good, the premise is still interesting, and the world building is... I'll need to look at it a little bit more, but so far it's compelling. The dialogue, I feel like, needs a bit work, and the characters, well, let's just give it time, right? So that was it for the first episode of Fairy Gone. Definitely will still be checking it out, at least a few more episodes to see if it goes up or goes down. So far, it's okay, right? It's just okay. There's nothing particularly bad, but there's nothing particularly good about it. So, need to give it a few more episodes to brew a little, right? So, that was it for episode 1 of Fairy Gone. This has been Maverick from Musings with Maverick, and I'll see you guys again, hopefully sometime soon. Bye-bye.